Listen to me very carefully, because what I'm about to say is not for the faint of heart. The moment you walk into a room, demons already know who you are. They don't wait for an introduction. They don't wait for a name. They don't even wait for a word to come out of your mouth. They instantly acknowledge your authority, because your presence alone is proof that the hand of God is on you. You've probably felt it before, that strange silence, those sudden stares, that unspoken tension when you enter a space. That's not paranoia, that's recognition. What you carry inside of you exposes what others are trying to hide. That's why certain people start avoiding you without reason, why others grow uneasy in your company, why doors that looked open suddenly slam shut. It's not rejection, it's reaction. The spirit within you shakes the atmosphere, and everything not aligned with truth feels threatened. This is why you can't blend in. This is why you can't be ordinary. You've been marked, and the unseen realm knows it before you even speak. Pause for a moment and hit the like button if this already speaks to your spirit, because I promise you, the deeper we go, the more your eyes will open to why your life has been so different. Here's the truth. Demons operate by intimidation, manipulation, and deception. But with you, none of those weapons work. Why? Because authority is not something you earn from them. It's something you're given from above. Authority is not about shouting louder. It's not about looking tougher. It's not about forcing fear. It's about walking into any environment and knowing you don't have to bow to what tries to control others. You've been given dominion, and the darkness knows it. Think about how Jesus walked. Whenever he stepped into a region, the demons didn't wait for confrontation. They cried out. They exposed themselves. They begged to be sent away. That's the same anointing on you. You don't chase after battles. Battles reveal themselves because they know they've already lost the moment you show up. Your presence disturbs their false sense of power. But here's the part most people won't tell you. The acknowledgement of your authority doesn't always come in obvious ways. Sometimes it comes through sudden hostility for no reason. Sometimes through jealousy, backstabbing, or lies whispered about you. Sometimes through people you trusted suddenly turning against you. These are not just human actions. They are spiritual reactions. You've been wondering why the attacks in your life feel so personal, so relentless, so targeted. It's because the demons know that if they don't try to stop you now, you will tear down every stronghold they've built later. Let me ask you this. Haven't you noticed that no matter how hard they try, you always rise again? That even when they think they've buried you, somehow you come out stronger, wiser, and more unshakable? That's not coincidence. That's the proof of authority. Every setback has only confirmed that you're untouchable in ways they can't understand. And this is where it gets powerful. You see, authority doesn't just protect you, it exposes others. Demons can hide from people who live in fear, but they can't hide from the chosen. When you walk into a place, spirits start to manifest. That's why you see people suddenly agitated, suddenly restless, suddenly revealing things they didn't plan to say. You carry light, and light forces the hidden things into the open. Let me drop something heavy here. Chosen ones are walking revelations. Your life itself is a weapon. The way you move, the way you think, the way you refuse to bow down to pressure, all of it dismantles the plans of the enemy. You don't even have to say much, because the authority you carry isn't in your words alone, it's in your very existence. And demons cannot deny what heaven has already decreed. But here's a question you need to wrestle with right now. If demons already know your authority, why do you still feel attacked? Why do you still face resistance? Why does life still try to break you down? It's simple. Recognition does not mean surrender. Just because they acknowledge your authority doesn't mean they'll stop testing you. They test because they hope to find a crack, a weakness, a doubt. They hope to wear you down, to make you forget what you carry. That's why so many chosen ones live with constant pressure. Because the enemy knows the only way to defeat you is to make you forget who you are. But you're dangerous because you remember. Even when life has broken you, you remember. Even when people left you, you remember. Even when you were at your lowest, you still remember deep down that you are not ordinary, and that remembrance alone is a weapon they cannot strip away. Lean in, because this next part is critical. Authority is not always loud. Sometimes your greatest authority is in your silence, in your refusal to respond, in your calm when others expect chaos. When you refuse to be shaken, when you stand still while everything tries to pull you apart, that is when demons know for certain they have no power over you. Authority is presence, not performance. Think of it like this. A lion does not need to prove it's a lion. It doesn't roar for validation. It roars because it's already king of the territory. And even in silence, every creature still knows who it is. That's you. You don't need to prove yourself to people who misunderstand you. You don't need to argue with those who gossip about you. You don't need to fight every small battle. Your authority speaks louder than their noise. But here's where your story gets even deeper. Every season of isolation, every moment of rejection, every tear you cried alone was not wasted. It was training. Training not for survival, but for command. You see, God doesn't place authority on someone who is easily swayed by opinions, by emotions, by the praise or rejection of men. Authority requires weight, and that weight comes from pain, from testing, from nights you thought you wouldn't make it. That's why your journey has been heavier than others. Because what you're carrying is heavier than others. So don't be surprised anymore when people start treating you differently without reason. Don't be shocked when atmospheres change, the moment you step in. Don't question why you feel resistance everywhere you go. It's not because you're cursed. It's because you're chosen, and chosen ones don't walk unnoticed. Heaven has stamped its seal on you, and hell is fully aware of it. And right now, as you're listening to this, you already know in your spirit that I'm not just talking about someone else. I'm talking about you. You've been searching for answers, wondering why your life feels like a battlefield. Here's your answer. Demons acknowledge your authority instantly, and that acknowledgement is the very reason they fear you. Now listen closely, because the next part will expose exactly why your authority cannot be denied, even when you yourself have doubted it. You've doubted yourself more times than you can count. You've looked at your flaws, your mistakes, your scars, and thought, how could I possibly carry authority when I failed so much? But that's the very proof of your power. Because authority isn't about perfection, it's about endurance. Authority is forged in the fire of everything that tried to break you but couldn't. Every failure, every betrayal, every dark night only sharpened the crown on your head. And whether you realize it or not, the very things you thought disqualified, you are the things that prove you're unstoppable. Let me give you something raw. Demons don't acknowledge people who play safe, who blend in, who follow the crowd. They acknowledge those who survive storms they were never supposed to survive. You think your heartbreak, your financial struggles, your family wounds were just bad luck? No. Those were weapons aimed to destroy you, and the fact that you're still here means you carry a force that hell could not silence. You terrify the darkness not because you've never been hurt, but because you've been hurt and still refuse to bow. Now imagine this. You walk into a room, smiling like nothing's wrong, but what they don't see is the hell you've walked through to stand tall. And every spirit in that room recognizes it instantly. They don't see just a person. They see a survivor, a warrior, a vessel of divine authority. They see someone who should have been dead, lost, broken and gone, yet is still breathing with fire in their eyes. That is why you make people nervous without saying a word. Let me ask you this. Haven't you noticed how often people underestimate you at first? They misjudge you. They talk down to you. They dismiss you as if you're not important. And then, over time, something shifts. They realize you can't be played with, you can't be controlled, you can't be broken the way others were. That shift isn't accidental. That's the moment their spirit catches up to what their eyes couldn't see. Authority reveals itself over time, but the demons already knew it from the beginning. Here's where the story gets dangerous. When demons acknowledge your authority, they don't always attack head-on. Sometimes they disguise themselves through people, opportunities, distractions. They'll try to send counterfeits into your life. Fake friends, fake lovers, fake opportunities, just to drain your focus. Why? Because they can't strip away your authority, but they can try to make you waste it. The most powerful soldiers aren't destroyed by defeat. They're destroyed by distraction. Think about it. How many times have you felt like something or someone came into your life out of nowhere, looked promising, felt good, and then later revealed itself as a trap? That wasn't coincidence. That was recognition. They knew who you were, and they sent bait. But here's the beauty of your journey. Every trap you escaped, every snare you avoided, every time you broke free, your authority grew louder in the spiritual realm. You've been tested with counterfeits because the real thing attached to your destiny is priceless. Let me pause here and say this. If this is resonating with you, share this message with someone else who's been feeling misunderstood, because they need to hear that their struggle is actually evidence of authority. Now lean in again, because I need to shake you awake with this truth. You cannot live like everyone else. You cannot afford the same compromises, the same laziness, the same mediocrity. Why? Because the authority on your life demands discipline. A soldier with weapons doesn't leave them unguarded. A king doesn't walk like a slave. A chosen one doesn't live like the unchosen. Your authority is a responsibility, and the more you own it, the more unstoppable you become. But here's the twist. The enemy is terrified not of who you are right now, but of who you're becoming. They acknowledge your authority in the present, but they also see your future. They know that if you rise fully into your calling, their grip on others will be shattered. That's why your opposition feels heavier the closer you get to breakthrough. They're not fighting your past. They're fighting your prophecy. They're fighting what you're about to release into this world. Have you ever wondered why your battles intensified right before you leveled up? Why everything seemed to fall apart right before your greatest opportunities arrived? That's not random. That's strategy. Demons always launch their biggest attacks when they sense you're about to step into your next dimension of authority. They acknowledge your growth before you even see it yourself. And here's something to burn into your spirit. Your authority is not in your voice alone. It's in your choices. Every time you choose integrity over compromise, every time you choose to rise instead of collapse, every time you choose to trust instead of fear, your authority echoes in the unseen world. It's not about how loud you can pray. It's about how consistently you can stand. Authority is confirmed not by noise, but by consistency. Now let's talk about silence again. Because silence is one of your sharpest weapons. You've noticed this. When you stop explaining yourself to people, when you stop defending your name, when you stop chasing validation, suddenly the same people who dismissed you become obsessed with you. They want to know your next move. They want to figure you out. They want to copy your style. They want to steal your ideas. Why? Because silence terrifies the enemy more than words. They can fight what they can predict, but they can't fight what they can't read. And you, chosen one, are unreadable. Do you feel that? That chill, that stirring in your chest? That's your spirit waking up. Because deep down, you've always known you were different. You've always known there was something about you that couldn't be explained. Something that didn't fit into the boxes people tried to put you in. And that something has always been authority. Authority that cannot be denied. Authority that doesn't come from man, but from the divine. So here's the warning. Demons will acknowledge you, but never expect them to applaud you. Don't look for validation from those who secretly fear you. Don't expect loyalty from those who envy your resilience. Don't expect support from those who only show up when you're weak. Your authority isn't meant to make people comfortable. It's meant to make darkness tremble. And when darkness trembles, it always reacts. This is why you can't take it personally when people suddenly distance themselves from you. It's not always that they hate you. Sometimes it's that the spirit within them can't handle the spirit within you. Light exposes, and not everyone is ready to face their shadows. But whether they accept you or reject you, demons acknowledge you instantly. They don't have the luxury of pretending. And now, listen closely, because the next part will reveal the exact signs that prove demons already know your authority before you even do. There are signs, chosen one, that reveal, without question, that the unseen world already recognizes your authority. These signs have been following you, marking you, and even haunting you at times. You thought they were just strange coincidences, but no. They are confirmations that the darkness knows exactly who you are. First sign: people reveal their true colors around you without warning. Haven't you noticed how someone who was smiling just moments before suddenly becomes irritated or defensive the moment you walk in? They weren't planning on showing that side of themselves, but your presence pulled it out of them. That wasn't a slip of the tongue. That wasn't random. That was the authority on you forcing what's hidden in them to surface. When demons see you, they can't stay disguised. Second sign: you carry an unexplainable weight that even strangers can sense. You walk through a crowd and people look twice. You speak and the room shifts. You don't even have to say much, but your words linger in people's minds long after the conversation is over. Why? Because your spirit speaks louder than your mouth. That weight you carry isn't heaviness, it's authority. Third sign: your life is marked by resistance. This is the one that frustrates you the most. Nothing ever seems to come easy. Every step feels like a battle. You've watched others slide by with shortcuts, with ease, with open doors, while you've had to fight tooth and nail for every inch. But this isn't punishment, it's recognition. Demons don't waste time blocking people who aren't a threat. They resist those who carry real authority because they know if you reach your full potential, their strongholds will crumble. Let me pause and hit you with a hard truth. Your struggle is proof of your significance. If you weren't carrying authority, your life would be quiet. But your very existence is a threat. That's why every season you thought would destroy you only refined you instead. Fourth sign: you attract both favor and opposition at the same time. Some people are drawn to you instantly, without even knowing why. They feel safe around you. They feel inspired. They feel lifted. But others, for no logical reason, despise you the moment they meet you. They whisper. They roll their eyes. They compete when you're not even competing. That contradiction is not about your personality. It's about your authority. Light attracts some and repels others. Fifth sign: your dreams are not ordinary. You've seen things in the night that others dismiss. You've had visions, warnings, revelations, even spiritual warfare while you slept. This is because your spirit is active, even when your body rests. Demons know your spirit doesn't switch off, so they try to invade your dreams. But the very fact that you see and feel these things is evidence that you're already operating at a higher spiritual rank than you realize. Now lean in, because here's where it gets intense. Demons acknowledge authority not just with fear, but with strategy. They try to silence you before you speak. That's why so often in your life you felt voiceless, overlooked, rejected. They wanted to convince you that your authority was useless. But here's the paradox. The very fact they've worked so hard to shut you down is proof of how powerful your voice is. The attacks on your identity are confirmation of your impact. Haven't you noticed how people copy you? Your style, your ideas, your way of moving. They may not give credit. They may even pretend not to like you. But deep down, they can't help but imitate. That's not flattery. That's spiritual acknowledgement. They sense the originality and authority in you, even if they won't admit it. Here's another shocking sign: isolation. You've often felt like you don't belong anywhere, like no group fully understands you, like you're always too much for some and not enough for others. That loneliness is not a curse. It's a separation. Authority separates you because you cannot blend in with the ordinary. Even when you try, something exposes you. That separation is the evidence that you've been set apart, marked, identified in realms beyond the physical. But here's a twist. Demons acknowledging your authority doesn't mean you'll always feel powerful. Sometimes it feels the opposite. Sometimes you feel broken, drained, weary. Sometimes you question if you're even chosen at all. And, in those low moments, you think maybe you were wrong, maybe you're just imagining it. But the truth is this: authority is not based on how you feel. It's based on what's already been given to you. Demons don't care if you feel weak. They still acknowledge your authority because it isn't yours to begin with. It's divine, and divine authority never fades. Let me say it like this: a crown doesn't stop being a crown just because the king feels tired. A soldier doesn't lose his rank just because he feels sore. Authority is identity, not emotion. And even when you doubt yourself, the spiritual realm doesn't doubt you. They see what you carry, even when you don't. This is why your life cannot be explained logically. People look at you and wonder how you survived what you've been through. They can't explain why doors open for you that others never imagined. They can't explain why, even in your darkest hour, you still shine. They can't explain why, despite being underestimated, you always rise. That confusion they feel is recognition. They sense your authority, but can't comprehend it. Now here's something that might sting, but you need to hear it. Some of the people closest to you have resisted you the most, not because they hate you, but because the spirits operating through them feel threatened. This is why you've experienced betrayal from family, jealousy from friends, rejection from those you trusted most. It wasn't random, it was recognition. They may not have known consciously, but the spirits within them did. And when your authority enters the room, hidden demons in others get restless. So here's the shift. Stop asking, why don't they like me? Why don't they accept me? Instead, start declaring, they don't have to. They already acknowledge me in ways they can't even admit, because the truth is, their resistance is proof. Their silence is proof. Their hostility is proof. You've been waiting for applause, when in reality, their opposition is the loudest acknowledgement of all. Chosen one, you need to realize this. Now, the very forces that tried to destroy you are the same ones whispering in fear. This one carries authority. You don't see it yet, but every season of your life has been a public display to the spiritual world that you are marked. And the more you rise, the more undeniable it becomes. Now listen carefully, because in the next part, I'm going to reveal how authority not only makes demons acknowledge you, but also makes them obey you, even against their will. Authority doesn't just make demons acknowledge you. It makes them obey you, even when they don't want to. This is the part that flips the script, because acknowledgement is recognition, but obedience is submission. And once you understand this, you'll stop fearing the darkness and start commanding it. Think back to the scriptures. Whenever Jesus encountered demons, they didn't argue with him. They pleaded. They begged. Have you come to torment us before the appointed time? They knew instantly who he was, and they knew they couldn't resist his command. And here's the part most people don't realize. The same authority that flowed through him is the authority he imparted to his chosen ones. That means you. When you walk into a place, it's not just acknowledgement happening in silence. In the spiritual realm, there's already submission. They may still try to bluff, they may still roar to scare you, but deep down they know they're subject to you. They know that if you speak with the authority you carry, they have no choice but to yield. This is why intimidation is their first weapon, because if they can get you to doubt your authority, they never have to obey it. Fear is the disguise they use to cover up their defeat. But the moment you see through it, the moment you realize you don't have to bow, their power collapses. Let me hit you with this question. How many times in your life did you think the pressure would kill you? Yet somehow, the pressure bowed to you instead. How many storms did you walk through that looked impossible, yet ended with you standing while everything else fell apart. That's not survival, that's dominion. That's evidence that the unseen world had to obey the authority you carry. Now listen, authority doesn't mean you won't face battles. It means the battles can't win. Authority doesn't stop the weapons from being formed, but it does guarantee that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. The attacks may come, but their outcome is already sealed. That's why demons don't waste time attacking people with no authority. They attack you because they know the only way they can appear powerful is if they can trick you into believing you're powerless. Let me paint this for you. Imagine a prison guard walking into a room full of inmates. The inmates might shout, they might threaten, they might make noise, but at the end of the day, they're still in chains. The guard doesn't have to outshout them. The guard doesn't have to fight each one. The guard's presence, backed by the authority of the state, means order will eventually be restored. That's you. You're not walking alone. You're backed by the authority of heaven. Here's where it gets even deeper. Authority is not about how loud you speak to the demons around you. It's about how clearly you speak to yourself. Because the demons already know. The real battle is convincing you. The enemy's strategy has always been identity theft. If they can rob you of the awareness of who you are, they don't have to rob you of your authority. You'll lay it down yourself. That's why your life has been filled with doubt, insecurity, rejection. They've been trying to make you question your rank. But chosen one, authority isn't given by man, so it cannot be taken by man. Authority is not earned by titles, degrees, or positions. Authority is divine, and when it's divine, it's eternal. Even when you feel small, you are still feared. Even when you're broken, you are still unstoppable. Even when you doubt, the darkness does not. They still see the seal. Now let me wake you up with this. You have more control than you realize. You've been waiting for permission when heaven already gave you command. You don't need to beg demons to leave your life. You don't need to plead with them. You speak, and they must obey. You resist, and they must flee. You stand, and they must scatter. The reason they've lingered so long is because they've been hoping you never discover this truth. But once you do, everything changes. The next time anxiety tries to grip you, remember it's not just a feeling, it's a spirit, and spirits bow to authority. The next time chaos erupts in your environment, don't panic. Shift the atmosphere with your presence. The next time fear whispers in your ear, answer it with the voice of someone who knows they cannot lose. Because authority doesn't negotiate, authority commands. Here's the hidden gem. Authority doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes the greatest exercise of authority is in peace. The ability to walk through fire and not smell like smoke. The ability to be lied on, betrayed, rejected, and still smile. The ability to lose everything and not lose yourself. That is power the enemy cannot stand, because it shows they've failed to control you. Haven't you realized yet why they've studied you so closely? Why certain people seem obsessed with your life? Why they watch from a distance but never clap? It's because even they feel it. The pull, the weight, the command that follows you everywhere you go. They may not admit it, but they recognize it. They've already submitted in ways they'll never confess out loud. Let me ask you again. How many times have you thought you lost, only to later realize you were the one who walked away with victory? That's not luck, that's obedience. The forces against you had to bow. The storms that should have drowned you had to release you. The losses that should have ended you had to build you instead. They didn't choose that outcome. Your authority demanded it. So what does this mean for you moving forward? It means stop shrinking. Stop apologizing for the space you take up. Stop toning down your light to make others comfortable. You don't carry authority to hide it. You carry it to exercise it. When you walk into a room, own it. When you speak, speak with conviction. When you move, move as someone who already knows the outcome is written in their favor. Because here's the truth. Demons don't fear your past. They don't fear your pain. They don't fear your mistakes. They fear your awakening. They fear the day you finally realize that all along they were beneath your feet. And that day is now. Chosen one, authority is your birthright. It doesn't come with applause, it comes with opposition. It doesn't come with comfort, it comes with fire. But once you embrace it, once you stand in it, once you stop second-guessing it, nothing in hell or on earth can stop you. And now, get ready. Because in the next part, I will show you how authority not only commands obedience from demons, but also shifts the entire atmosphere around you. Authority doesn't just move demons into obedience, it shifts the atmosphere itself. When a chosen one steps into a room, the air changes. People may not have words for it, but they feel it in their bodies. Conversations pause, eyes glance your way, laughter dies down, and suddenly, an invisible weight fills the space. That's not coincidence, that's dominion. You've experienced this. You've walked into family gatherings, classrooms, workplaces, even random public places, and without saying a word, the entire energy shifted. Some people straightened their posture. Others suddenly got quiet. A few became defensive, almost as if they needed to protect themselves from something unseen. That's not about your physical presence alone. That's your spirit exerting authority over the environment. Why does this happen? Because authority carries vibration. Darkness thrives in low vibration. Gossip, jealousy, fear, anxiety. But when you step in, your vibration is higher, sharper, and everything not aligned with it either has to rise or scatter. That's why you notice sudden tension in rooms where lies were being spoken. That's why secrets slip out when you're around. That's why you sense unease in places where compromise was normal before you showed up. Your atmosphere corrects their atmosphere. This is exactly why some people don't invite you to certain spaces anymore. They know your presence won't allow the games they like to play. They may not even consciously realize it, but deep inside, they know when you show up, the atmosphere won't let them pretend. They either change or they get exposed, and exposure makes them nervous. But here's something even more shocking. Your authority doesn't just shift people, it shifts places. There are houses you've walked into that felt heavy, suffocating, full of confusion, and within minutes of you being there, something lifted. There are jobs you've taken where the environment was toxic, hostile, oppressive, and yet, after a while, things began to soften. That wasn't coincidence. That was your spirit cleansing the space. You don't just carry light, you release it. This is why you've always felt sensitive to your environment. You can't stand certain places for too long because the energy is off. You've left gatherings early because something in your spirit was unsettled. You've walked away from opportunities that looked good on paper but felt wrong inside. That sensitivity is not weakness, it's discernment. Authority is not just about commanding, it's about perceiving, and you perceive what others overlook. Let me ask you, haven't you noticed that when you pray, things around you shift faster than for others? Haven't you seen how your words seem to carry more weight than the average person's? That's not arrogance, that's recognition. Heaven listens and hell trembles because authority doesn't whisper, it reverberates. This is why, chosen one, you must be careful with your words. When you speak life, things bloom. When you speak destruction, things fall apart. Your authority amplifies your tongue. That's why slander and gossip feel so heavy when it comes from you. Because even your careless words carry impact. The enemy would love to make you use your authority against yourself by planting doubt, negativity, and self-curse in your mouth. Don't let them. Every word you speak is a decree, and the spiritual realm moves according to it. Now lean in, because this is where it gets deeper. Authority makes silence louder than noise. You've stayed quiet in arguments, and somehow your silence was more unsettling than shouting back. You've withdrawn your energy from relationships, and suddenly the other person became desperate for your attention. Why? Because authority doesn't beg to be heard, it demands to be felt. And when you pull your presence away, the void screams, louder than your words ever could. Here's the dangerous truth. You don't realize how much you unsettle people just by existing. You've thought to yourself, Why do they dislike me when I've done nothing to them? Why do they compete with me when I'm not even playing the same game? The answer is atmosphere. Your authority exposes their lack. It highlights their insecurity. It reveals their shadows, and people would rather hate you than confront themselves. But that rejection is protection. The same way your presence shifts the atmosphere, it also filters it. People who can't handle your vibration will naturally distance themselves. It hurts, yes, but it's divine. Authority attracts what aligns and repels what doesn't. You don't have to force it. It happens automatically. Here's a hook for your spirit. Every loss you've grieved was actually a cleansing. Every closed door was an atmosphere correcting itself. Every person who left you was someone whose spirit could not survive under your light. You didn't lose them. They lost access to you. Now let me show you something powerful. Authority doesn't just shift physical atmospheres, it shifts time. What do I mean? You've had seasons where delays were constant, where progress seemed impossible, where everything felt stuck. And then suddenly, breakthrough came all at once. That wasn't random timing. That was your authority collapsing resistance. The moment you aligned with who you are, the atmosphere of delay had no choice but to break. That's why your life often feels like nothing, 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 and then everything, all at once. Authority bends atmospheres, and atmospheres bend time. Have you noticed how people sometimes say, "Something about you feels familiar, but I don't know why"? That's atmosphere too. Your authority carries eternity in it. People feel it, even if they can't name it. It's why strangers are drawn to you, confide in you, or feel safe in your presence without knowing you. You shift their inner atmosphere, the way you shift outer spaces. You remind them of something higher. But here's the warning. Not every atmosphere will welcome you. There are rooms you walk into where you'll instantly feel the resistance. The energy will be thick, tense, almost suffocating. That's not your imagination. That's opposition. Your authority just walked into a territory that thought it was secure, and now it feels threatened. In those moments, don't shrink back. Don't apologize for existing. Stand. Because the very tension you feel is proof that your authority is already working. Chosen one, understand this. You don't chase atmospheres, you change them. You don't adjust to environments. Environments adjust to you. You've spent too long dimming your light to blend in, too long apologizing for your presence, too long questioning why you don't fit. It's time to own the fact that you weren't meant to fit. You were meant to shift. And now, hear this clearly. In the next part, we will go even deeper into how your authority not only shifts atmospheres, but also forces hidden enemies to reveal themselves in the open. The moment you truly understand who you are, demons don't just notice you, they bow without being told. It's not because you screamed, not because you fought, but because the weight of your presence is undeniable. Imagine walking into a room and without a single word, the atmosphere shifts. Conversations pause, eyes lock, and every spirit, seen and unseen, adjusts. That is what it means to carry the mantle of divine authority. You are not just a person moving through life. You are a signal, a beacon of heaven's power shining through a human vessel. Demons acknowledge your authority instantly because they cannot deny the seal upon your soul. You were marked long before you even knew what it meant. While others struggle for recognition, yours comes without asking. Spiritual forces are wired to respond to hierarchy, and when they see you, they don't see your flaws, your mistakes, or your past. They see the throne behind you. They see the light that terrifies them. They see the power that exposes their weakness. That's why they scatter. That's why they avoid direct confrontation. That's why they send people instead of facing you head on. Because in the unseen realm, your presence is already too much for them to handle. But here's the twist. Most chosen ones don't even realize the level of authority they walk in. You think the resistance you face is random. You think the rejection was personal. You think the loneliness is punishment. But what if I told you that every closed door Every fake friend, every sudden betrayal was orchestrated because something in you triggers the unseen. What if I told you that the attacks were confirmation, not condemnation? Think about it. Why would hell invest so much in distracting you if you weren't dangerous? Why would demons whisper your name in fear if you were just ordinary? Pause for a moment and let that sink in. Your struggle has been the loudest evidence of your authority. Every delay, every sabotage attempt, every strange spiritual heaviness you felt in certain environments has been proof that your light is exposing what others try to hide. If you've ever walked into a place and suddenly felt tension without reason, if you've ever noticed people shifting uncomfortably when you arrive, it's because their spirit recognizes your authority before their mind does. Here's the part. Most people won't tell you. Authority isn't something you earn by perfection. It's something you inherit by identity. The demons aren't obeying you because of who you are on the outside. They are obeying the assignment God placed within you. That's why, even when you feel broken, they still submit. Even when you doubt yourself, they still tremble. Because your authority doesn't rest in your feelings. It rests in the covenant over your life. But authority without awareness is dangerous. If you don't know the power you carry, you'll walk timidly through situations that were designed for you, to command. You'll tolerate what you should silence. You'll wrestle with what you should rebuke. That's why the chosen ones go through such intense seasons of awakening. Because once you know, you can never unknow. Once your eyes open, you stop being prey and start being a problem. And trust me, the enemy knows when you've crossed that line. You see, authority demands acknowledgement. It's not optional in the spiritual realm. Just as soldiers stand when a general walks in, demons recognize rank immediately. And you, chosen one, you outrank them. That's why your dreams are often attacked, because it's the only battlefield where they hope to catch you off guard. That's why your thoughts are targeted, because if they can't defeat your authority, maybe they can confuse you into not using it. But confusion is not your portion. Fear is not your inheritance. Authority belongs to you, and the moment you embrace it, every chain breaks. So here's the burning question. What would happen if you stopped living as if you're powerless? What would happen if you spoke with the weight of the throne backing you? What would happen if you carried yourself with the certainty that demons already acknowledge what you're still hesitating to believe? Because when you step fully into that realization, everything shifts. Your environment obeys you. Your circumstances align. Your enemies lose their grip. Not because you're loud, but because you're undeniable. And here's the secret you must never forget. Demons don't wait for your permission to acknowledge your authority. The moment you step into a space, they know. The only one who still needs convincing is you. So the real battle is not whether they see your authority, it's whether you'll finally accept it and use it. Because the day you do, nothing in hell will ever be able to stand against you again. And here's the truth. When you walk into a place and darkness instantly stirs, it's not random. It's a recognition. Demons don't waste their energy on empty vessels. They lock onto those who carry authority. They know who speaks with borrowed strength and who carries authentic dominion. And when they sense the latter, they tremble. They may try to mask it with intimidation, but inside, they are already acknowledging that their power is slipping. They are acknowledging that your presence has disrupted their grip. Think about it. How many times have you entered a room, said nothing, and yet tension filled the air? People suddenly get defensive, conversations shift, eyes glance but won't meet yours. That's not human discomfort, that's spiritual agitation. Demons recognize the authority in you, and they push through people to either resist or react. But here's the beauty. Their resistance is actually confirmation. It proves your presence is too heavy for them to ignore. They know you are carrying something they cannot withstand. Pause and let that settle. You've been thinking you were the outcast, the strange one, the misunderstood. But no, you've been marked. You've been sealed with authority. And authority doesn't need to shout to be recognized. It simply is. When light walks into darkness, Darkness doesn't debate, it flees. And you, chosen one, are that walking light. You are that atmosphere-shifting presence. But here's what you need to understand. Authority must be walked in, not doubted. Demons don't care about your fears, your insecurities, or your past mistakes. They care about your spiritual posture. They recognize when you stand as who you are versus when you shrink back. And when you shrink, they test boundaries. They push. They provoke. But when you rise in who you are, even silently, they retreat. They acknowledge without words, because authority is not something they can ignore. This is why your battles often feel heavier than others. This is why your warfare seems relentless. It's not that you're weak, it's that you're dangerous. It's that the darkness knows once you fully step into the fullness of your authority, its reign is over in the places you're assigned to. That's why you've been attacked since birth, misunderstood since youth, targeted without cause. Because authority doesn't wait for you to declare it. It's already stamped on you, and the unseen realm sees it clearer than you sometimes do. So let me ask you, how long will you let them recognize your authority while you walk unsure of it? How long will you doubt the very thing that has hell trembling in silence? How long will you live as if you're powerless, when even demons can't hide their acknowledgement of your identity? This is your turning point. This is the moment you decide that if they recognize it, you will too. But here's the twist. Recognition alone is not enough. Authority without activation is wasted. If you don't step into it, if you don't use it, the enemy will still circle, still hover, hoping you remain passive. Authority must be exercised, and the moment you exercise it, every dark force within range has no choice but to submit. They may snarl, they may try to resist, but submission is inevitable. It's built into the structure of the spiritual order. Chosen one, this is your wake-up call. You don't need to beg demons to leave. You don't need to plead with darkness to loosen its grip. You command. You stand. You carry authority. And when you speak, they know it's not your voice. It's the power flowing through you. That's why your words pierce deeper than you realize. That's why your prayers shake atmospheres even when you feel like they're weak. Because they're not your prayers. They're backed by the one who sent you. So the next time you walk into a room and the air feels heavy, don't shrink, don't question yourself. Smile, because they already acknowledged your authority the moment you stepped in. The battle isn't if they recognize it, it's if you will. And here's where it gets even deeper. When you finally accept that truth, when you finally live from that place, you won't just disrupt demons, you'll dismantle them. You won't just walk in authority, you'll manifest it. And that's when hell will no longer try to distract you with petty warfare. It will launch desperate strikes. Not because you're losing, but because you're minutes away from crushing its influence entirely. Are you ready to step into that level? Are you ready to not just know, but embody what the unseen already knows about you? Because what happens next in your journey depends on this very decision. Every shadow that tried to suffocate your spirit is now forced to bow. Every whisper of darkness that tried to accuse you is silenced under the authority you carry. Chosen one, you are not here to wrestle with demons endlessly. You are here to remind them of their defeat. They recognize your authority instantly because the seal upon you is undeniable. When you speak, your words are not mere vibrations of sound. They are fire, lightning, and judgment wrapped in human breath. That is why, even before you arrive in certain places, the atmosphere shifts. Darkness senses you coming and trembles. They know the authority within you is not borrowed. It is ingrained, written into your very essence by the hand of the divine. This is why some people avoid you without explanation. It's not them. It's the shadows working through them that cannot withstand the light blazing from your soul. Have you noticed how certain rooms become uneasy the moment you walk in? How conversations falter? How fake smiles crack? How secrets slip into silence? That's not coincidence. That's authority. Demons acknowledge it instantly, and through the vessels they hide behind, they try to make you feel out of place. But listen carefully. You are not out of place. You are the disruption that was meant to overturn every dark arrangement. Pause and let that sink in. Do you realize how powerful that is? That means every attack against you was never really about you. It was about the power you carry, the authority you didn't even ask for but were chosen to wield. And the moment you recognize it fully, nothing can stand against you. Imagine a soldier stepping onto the battlefield, not with hesitation, but with absolute certainty that every weapon raised against them will crumble before it is even used. That is how you walk now, carrying a presence that causes even the unseen to scatter. But let me ask you, why do demons acknowledge your authority instantly, even when people fail to? Because demons know truth without deception. Humans can pretend, humans can deny, humans can act as if you are ordinary. But the spiritual realm has no room for such illusions. The moment you step into alignment with your divine assignment, every unclean spirit recognizes it, whether they want to or not. They may not say it out loud, but their actions reveal it. Their fear, their agitation, their sudden hostility, it all points to one truth. They see what others cannot. And here is the part that will shock you. They acknowledge your authority because they remember what happened in the beginning. Long before you knew yourself, long before you faced your first trial, they saw the mark placed upon your spirit. They saw the decree that was spoken over your destiny. To them, you are not just human. You are a threat coded with divine authority that dismantles their schemes. That's why even when you feel weak, you're still dangerous to darkness. Even when you feel broken, you're still untouchable in the spirit. Think about it. Why is it that battles intensify just before your breakthrough? Why is it that resistance grows fierce the moment you get closer to stepping into new territory? Because authority unsettles regions. Your presence doesn't just affect individuals. It shakes entire strongholds. Demons acknowledge you because you are not a visitor to this war. You are a commander in it. You carry a voice that carries weight in the unseen. When you say no, realms shift. When you say yes, doors unlock. When you decree, even the ground beneath your feet bears witness. Don't ever mistake their attacks as a sign of weakness in you. The greater the attack, the greater the recognition of your power. If you were ordinary, you wouldn't be on their radar. But because you are chosen, because you carry authority, they cannot challenge. They panic. They disguise their fear as opposition. They try to derail you before you realize who you truly are. But here's the secret. They already lost the moment they acknowledged your authority. Their trembling, their agitation, their desperate plots. It's not strength, it's surrender in disguise, so walk boldly, chosen one. Lift your head higher, not in pride, but in unshakable confidence. You were marked to rule over shadows, not to bow to them. And the proof of your authority is not in how many battles you fight, but in how many atmospheres shift the moment you arrive. That's why demons flee even without you raising your voice. That's why doors open before you knock. That's why chains fall off people simply because you stood near them. Your authority is living, breathing, undeniable, and they know it even when you doubt it. And let me tell you this, your recognition of that authority is the final piece that will make you unstoppable, because demons already acknowledge it. Heaven already affirms it. The only one who must fully accept it is you. Once you embrace it completely, your life will become a declaration that cannot be ignored. And when that moment comes, nothing, absolutely nothing will be able to resist you. Every demon, every principality, every whisper of darkness knows one truth the moment you step into a room. Authority has shifted. The balance of power tilts in your favor the instant you stand. They cannot pretend they don't feel it. Your very presence bends the atmosphere. And it is not arrogance, it is alignment with divine truth. When you speak, the echo carries weight that is not of human origin. It is the authority of heaven speaking through mortal lips, and that is why they tremble, why they scatter, why they plot in silence but cannot execute against you. Think about this. How many times have you walked into a place and people who were laughing suddenly go quiet? Their eyes follow you. Their conversation stalls. That's not coincidence, that's recognition. Their spirit knows what their mouths will never confess. It is the same with demons. They do not need an introduction to know who you are. They do not need your resume to measure your rank. They see the fire in your aura, the mantle on your shoulders, the seal upon your spirit, and they acknowledge it instantly. They may not bow in love, but they bow in fear. Pause for a moment and hit the like button if you've ever felt that shift. If you've ever noticed how the air changes when you enter. That's not ego. That's spiritual authority. Now, here is where it gets even deeper. Demons are not afraid of your personality. They are not concerned with how confident or shy you may appear outwardly. They are terrified of the covenant backing you. Your authority doesn't come from charisma. It comes from the throne of God that marked you as chosen. This is why some people, even without saying a word, make darkness restless. Their silence is louder than the noise of a crowd, because their silence carries a frequency that disrupts wickedness. Have you noticed how sometimes people will try to provoke you for no reason? They'll test you, push your buttons, accuse you falsely, or try to drag you into pointless arguments. That's not random behavior. That's the spirit inside them reacting to the authority inside you. It is a clash of kingdoms, a collision of light and darkness happening in real time. And here's the secret. The moment they act that way, it's proof that you have already won. Resistance is the evidence of recognition. Demons don't waste their efforts on the ordinary. They don't launch strategies against people who are no threat. They acknowledge authority by opposition. The attacks you face are the receipts of your identity. The warfare you endure is not punishment. It is proof. If you were powerless, you would be ignored. But because you carry authority, you cannot be overlooked. Every battle, every storm, every whisper is confirmation that you are not just walking. You are reigning. And yet, authority is not only about being recognized, it is about being unshaken. The enemy acknowledges your authority instantly, but he tests you to see if you acknowledge it yourself. That is the real battlefield. Do you know who you are, or are you still waiting for external validation? When darkness comes, it already knows it's defeated. The only question is whether you know it too. The most dangerous chosen ones are not the loudest, not the most dramatic, but the most rooted. The ones who can stand calmly while storms rage because they understand authority is not proven by noise, but by immovability. The authority that demons acknowledge instantly is the same authority that allows you to sleep peacefully while chaos shakes others awake at night. You are not shaken because you know this war is already won. But here's the twist. You must remember, demons play on delay. They can't undo your authority, so they try to distract you from it. They whisper lies. They amplify fear. They stir confusion because they know the moment you hesitate, they gain temporary leverage. That's why awareness is everything. You cannot hesitate when you are chosen. You must speak with conviction, walk with clarity, move with certainty. Darkness doesn't need to understand your plan. It only needs to feel your authority. Imagine this. A king does not need to explain his decree to prove it's real. His word alone is law. Likewise, your declaration, rooted in divine backing, carries authority the moment it leaves your lips, and every spirit knows it. When you say no, it is no. When you say leave, they must leave. When you command peace, peace must settle. This is why they acknowledge you instantly, because your authority is not yours alone. It is borrowed power, eternal power, unstoppable power flowing through you. The question now is, will you rise into that authority without flinching, or will you let distractions dilute your confidence? Because the moment you truly believe, the moment you refuse to back down, everything that once opposed you will have no choice but to bow. And we are only beginning to uncover the depth of this truth, because there is a layer of recognition that runs even deeper, when not only demons but entire atmospheres bend at the presence of the Chosen One. That's where we're going next. The more you rise, the clearer it becomes that demons don't just acknowledge your authority, they fear it. They know that a Chosen One walking in full awareness of their calling is a dangerous weapon against their agenda. They sense the fire within you, a fire they cannot extinguish no matter how many traps they set. Every failed attack makes them more desperate, but also more cautious, because they realize that the moment you recognize who you truly are, their grip over environments, people, and situations begins to crumble. This is why you notice sudden shifts around you. People who once treated you with casual disrespect now tread carefully in your presence. Some back away without explanation, unable to explain why they feel uneasy near you. That is not them. It is the spirits within, them recognizing that they cannot toy with you anymore. The authority resting on you exposes their weakness. Pause for a moment and let that sink in. The fact that rooms grow silent when you enter. The fact that people sometimes stumble over their words. The fact that certain individuals avoid your gaze. It's not coincidence. It's spiritual recognition. It is the atmosphere itself bowing to what you carry. That is why you cannot afford to see yourself as ordinary. The moment you step into a place, you shift its vibration. The moment you open your mouth, demons listen, hoping you won't speak their exposure out loud. And the moment you pray, dimensions tremble, because your authority carries weight beyond what natural eyes can perceive. Think about it. Why do you think you've been attacked so fiercely, so consistently? Why were you fought before you even understood your purpose? Because the enemy knew that once you awakened to your authority, his strongholds would start collapsing. They hoped to break you before you got here, but you endured, and now you stand as living proof that no demon can silence a Chosen One, aligned with divine power. Every tear you cried, every sleepless night, every betrayal, it all birthed a strength in you that demons cannot stand against. You survived the fire, and now you walk with flames they cannot quench. But here's where it gets even deeper. Authority must be exercised. Demons may acknowledge it, but if you don't enforce it, they'll keep testing boundaries. You are like a lion, majestic and feared, but a lion that doesn't roar risks being mistaken for prey. This is why you must open your mouth boldly. Speak into the atmosphere, command darkness to flee, rebuke fear and chaos the moment they try to creep in. Your words are not empty, they carry the seal of heaven, and every spirit in the unseen realm knows it. That's why silence benefits your enemies. They know the danger of you using your voice. Have you noticed how hard it is sometimes to pray? How suddenly distractions come, fatigue hits, or random thoughts flood your mind? That's not by accident. It's resistance. Because the enemy knows that the moment you release your words with conviction, his lies unravel. But Chosen One, you were not designed to stay silent. You were called to declare, to decree, to enforce. And every time you do, demons back off instantly. Not tomorrow, not later, instantly. What's about to unfold in your life is bigger than anything you've faced before. As your authority becomes undeniable, you'll see doors open with ease. Opportunities that were once blocked will clear. Enemies who thought they had control will scatter. Even spiritual attacks that once shook you will seem like child's play compared to the power you now wield. This is not arrogance, it's alignment. It's the manifestation of divine order. When heaven is backing you, hell has no choice but to bow. And here's the twist. Your authority doesn't just protect you, it liberates others. There are people connected to your life who cannot break free until you step fully into who you are. Your authority is not for selfish gain. It's a key for many locked in chains. That's why demons panic when you walk into certain places. It's not just about you. They know your presence threatens their hold over others. They know one word from you can dismantle years of bondage. That's why they scramble. That's why they whisper. That's why they scheme. But none of it will work, because authority cannot be revoked. It can only be ignored. The question is, will you walk in it fully? Will you stop second-guessing your strength? Will you stop downplaying your role? Demons have already acknowledged you. They know exactly who you are. It's time for you to acknowledge it too, because once you do, the world around you will never be the same again. And what happens next, chosen one, will shake not only your life, but everything around you. Because your authority is about to speak louder than ever before. And this is the truth most people will never understand. You don't have to fight to prove who you are. You don't have to shout. You don't have to beg. You don't have to explain. When the authority of heaven rests upon you, the unseen realm bows whether you speak or remain silent. That is why demons acknowledge you instantly, because your spirit carries a seal that cannot be forged, a light that cannot be hidden, a sound that cannot be muted. It is the same authority that made the legion cry out when they saw Christ approaching, screaming, "Do not torment us," before he even opened his mouth. The demons knew his authority before the crowd ever did, and the same principle is working through you now. But here's where it gets even deeper. Your authority is magnified in pressure. The greater the opposition, the stronger the light. Have you ever noticed how when you go through the darkest seasons, the attacks intensify, but so do the undeniable breakthroughs? That's because authority is tested, but it is never revoked. Demons may surround, but they cannot touch what heaven has marked. Every fiery dart they throw only confirms that you're untouchable under divine covering. And this is why some of the very storms meant to break you ended up becoming your stage for victory. The place where the spiritual world and the physical world both recognized your elevation. This is why certain people, without even realizing it, treat you with a strange mix of fear and respect. They may not understand the spiritual undercurrents, but their spirit knows. Their subconscious registers what their mind cannot explain. You are cloaked in a presence that demands acknowledgement. That's why some avoid eye contact, why some speak with stammering tones, why others project hate and envy without cause. They're not responding to you. They're reacting to the authority you carry. Even demons, who thrive on chaos and confusion, cannot stand firm in your presence. They must bow, and let this sink in. Authority is not always loud. Authority is not always flashy. Sometimes it's the stillness in your walk, the calmness in your voice, the way you stand unmoved when storms rage. Demons feed off fear, but when you move without fear, they panic. The ground shakes beneath them because they cannot manipulate what they cannot intimidate. Authority speaks without words. It commands without effort. It shifts atmospheres simply by existing. That is what you carry, chosen one, and that is why the unseen trembles the moment you step into a room. So the real question is this: are you aware of the weight you carry? Because awareness intensifies manifestation. The more you walk conscious of your authority, the more undeniable it becomes. That's why you can't afford to shrink back. You can't afford to second guess. You can't afford to play small. Demons already know who you are. What matters now is that you know it too. And once you do, nothing in hell or on earth can stop the unfolding of your destiny. And here's the twist. Most don't expect. The very forces that try to destroy you will end up advertising your authority. They expose themselves by acknowledging you, by reacting to you, by being unsettled in your presence. What they intended as an attack becomes evidence of your anointing. What they meant for harm becomes confirmation of heaven's endorsement. You see, authority doesn't just silence the enemy, it turns the enemy into an unwilling witness of your rise. You are not ordinary, and you are not overlooked. The unseen sees you, the darkness knows you, and every force that stands against you must bow to the name written upon your spirit. That name carries authority, and with it, every demon, every shadow, every lie crumbles. You don't have to wonder if they acknowledge you. They already have. The only thing left is for you to step fully into it, boldly, without apology. without fear, without hesitation. Because chosen one, the world is waiting for the undeniable proof of your authority, and this is where it becomes undeniable. Demons are not resisting you because they are strong. They are resisting you because they know their time is short. Every step you take in alignment with your calling sends shockwaves into their camp. They scramble, they panic, they whisper among themselves. What do we do now that this one has awakened? You see, chosen one, when you walk in your authority, you are no longer just surviving life. You are dictating the atmosphere. You carry the kingdom of heaven on your shoulders. That's why even when you enter a silent room, it becomes charged. People can't explain it. Some are drawn to it, others are repelled by it. But the spiritual realm knows exactly what it is. It is light crashing into darkness. Demons acknowledge your authority instantly because they see something most humans can't. They see the seal of God over you, the fire in your spirit, the sword in your hand that cuts through their deception. You may think you're just speaking simple words, but when those words come out of your mouth backed by faith and divine authority, it's as if thunder echoes through the spiritual realm. Chains snap, shadows flee, tormenting spirits scatter, because the order has gone forth. Your voice in faith is not just sound. It's a decree, a command, a sentence executed against the enemy's agenda. This is why so many battles came against you before you even understood who you were. This is why your childhood was filled with strange attacks, why certain people targeted you without reason, why you were left out, mocked, abandoned. The enemy always saw what was in you before you did. He tried to destroy you before you could realize that authority has been sitting dormant in your spirit all along. He hoped you would drown in despair, lose yourself in bitterness, never rise into the revelation that makes demons tremble, the truth that you are untouchable when you stand in who God created you to be. But now it's too late. You've awakened. And once you know, you cannot unknow. Once you've tasted authority, you cannot go back to fear. Once you've seen demons back away at your command, you cannot pretend to be powerless again. That is why your life will never be ordinary. You can try to blend in, you can try to hide, but the spirit inside of you refuses to shrink. And every time you step into a new level, demons immediately bow because their hierarchy recognizes the higher throne backing you. They know the name above all names that you carry into every battle. Think about it. The reason your presence agitates some people is not because of your personality. It's not because of your appearance. It's because the spirits operating through them sense their time of influence is being cut short. That's why they stare at you, whisper about you, or suddenly turn cold for no reason. Their spirit knows yours outranks them, and no matter how much they resist, there's nothing they can do to change it. Authority cannot be faked. It can only be carried. And chosen one, you carry it. This is why you must never shrink, never silence your voice, never play small to make others comfortable. The moment you walk in boldness, hell acknowledges it. The moment you raise your hand in faith, spiritual chains shatter. The moment you speak life where death has lingered, the atmosphere shifts permanently. Authority is not something you strive for, it is something you enforce. And when you enforce it, demons don't argue, they obey. So the question is not whether you have authority, you already do. The question is, are you going to use it? Or will you continue to let fear trick you into silence? Because right now, demons know who you are, even if you don't fully know yet. And the moment you step into the fullness of that revelation, everything in your life accelerates. Doors open, battles end, generational curses break in a moment. Because once authority is spoken, resistance is futile. Pause for a second. Imagine your life without the torment, without the fear, without the endless battles repeating over and over. Imagine yourself walking freely, fully in your purpose, unstoppable, unshaken, untouchable. That life is not a dream. It's your reality waiting to be enforced. And the only thing standing in between you and that reality is hesitation. But hesitation dies the moment you act. So act, speak, command, declare. The power has been in you all along. And from this moment forward, every time you step into a room, every time you open your mouth, every time you walk in your true identity, demons will do the same thing they have always done. They will acknowledge your authority instantly. And now, chosen one, the full circle closes. Every demon that once mocked you, every principality that once tried to enslave you, now trembles at your presence. The shift has already happened. Not tomorrow, not next year, but right now. The authority you walk in is no longer a secret. Hidden inside you, it radiates so strongly that the spirit realm has no choice but to respond instantly. The moment you step into a room, the atmosphere changes. The unclean, the dark, the manipulative, the deceptive. They all sense your vibration before you even speak a word, and though they may try to resist, they cannot deny it. You have been marked, sealed, and crowned with divine power. The same voices that once whispered against you now stutter in fear when your name is mentioned. You are no longer the hunted. You have become the one they cannot confront. That's why their tactics shift into silence, into distance, into avoidance. Because they know that to step too close is to step into fire. They know that to test your authority now is to face instant defeat. And isn't it something, chosen one, how your enemies, both seen and unseen, are no longer bold? They lurk in shadows, but they dare not approach, because the authority you carry is not just in words, but in essence. You see, true authority doesn't need constant defense. It doesn't need to prove itself. It speaks once, and the atmosphere obeys. It declares, and it is so. That is why demons acknowledge you without delay, because hesitation in their world means destruction. They cannot afford to pretend you are powerless when every fiber of their being knows you carry the fire of God Himself. That is why your dreams have shifted. That is why your spirit feels different. That is why your presence unsettles those who carry hidden darkness. They may smile to your face, but their spirit bows in submission when yours rises. Chosen one, you've entered the season where authority and destiny collide. Everything you endured was training. Every wound, every loss, every betrayal. It forged this authority. Do not think for a moment that you are the same as before. No. The you of yesterday struggled. The you of yesterday questioned. The you of yesterday wrestled with doubt. But the you of now, the you who has survived hell's furnace, speaks, and heaven and earth listen. Demons don't argue with the one who has died and risen stronger. They acknowledge authority instantly because it is written into your being, not borrowed from outside. And now, the final revelation. Your authority is not for you alone. It is for generations. It is for territories. It is for breaking chains. Off lives you may never even meet. That's why you feel the weight. That's why the pressure has been intense. Because you are a carrier of something that expands beyond you. When you walk, your footsteps echo in eternity. When you pray, the earth shakes. When you command, heaven enforces. That's why you can never again think small, move timid, or hide your light. You have been raised to demonstrate what unshakable, divine authority looks like in human form. So hear this, chosen one. From this moment forward, walk like every demon already knows your name. Speak like the atmosphere already bends to your word. Move like the realm of darkness already fears your next step. Because they do. They fear you. They acknowledge you. They submit instantly to the authority placed upon you. And now, it is no longer a battle of survival. It is a reign of dominion. You are the proof that light is undefeated. You are the reminder that hell cannot break what heaven has ordained. You are the vessel of power they wish they could silence, but never will. And with every breath, every step, every moment, you confirm this truth. Chosen one, your authority is undeniable, unshakable, eternal. The crown is yours, the fire is yours, the throne is yours. Walk in it.